Drake's empire is collapsing in real time, and what I'm about to show you isn't just a career slump, it's an extinction event. People are saying Kendrick Lamar is holding a 20-minute nuclear weapon over his head, while Bloomberg just exposed the dark truth behind the money. This isn't a rap beef anymore. This is a crime scene. Everybody thought they knew how this story ended. Kendrick won the battle, Drake took the L, and we all moved on, right? That was the version the internet ran with. But new information dropping right now has the whole narrative twisting into something way darker. We aren't just looking at a loss on the charts, we are looking at a machine, a billion-dollar industry machine that is rotting from the inside out. While the world thinks Drake is just taking a break, insiders are leaking reports of 4 scrapped albums, a lawsuit that blew up in his face, and a gambling scandal that makes his entire lifestyle look like a rigged prop. The ICEMAN isn't just quiet, he's allegedly drowning, and the man who put him there? He's not just winning awards, he's executing a hostile takeover of the entire culture. Let's look at the scoreboard, because numbers don't lie, but they can definitely hurt. Kendrick Lamar, 27 Grammys. Let that sink in. The man who was supposed to be the underdog against the commercial giant is now standing on a podium above Jay-Z. That is not a win, that is a regime change. He walked into the ceremony, took 5 trophies, and didn't even break a sweat. But here is where the detectives online are losing their minds. Look at Drake during this same moment. Absent, muted, off the grid. Why? Because while Kendrick is doing victory laps, Drake is reportedly fighting for his life in a courtroom. TMZ and legal blogs have been digging into this lawsuit where Drake accused UMG and Kendrick of botting streams. He tried to say the numbers were fake. He tried to say Not Like Us was a manufactured hit. And what happened? A judge reportedly looked at the evidence and tossed it, dismissed. The legal argument that Drake built his entire ICEMAN victim narrative on just evaporated. But it gets even crazier. Bloomberg Businessweek just dropped a statistical bomb that makes the music look like the least of his problems. They analyzed 500 hours of gambling streams. 500 hours! Fans online turned into forensic accountants for this one. They're slowing down the frames of the slot machines, zooming in on the win rates, and what they found is terrifying. On third-party games, the ones the casino doesn't control, Drake's win rate is average, boring. He loses just like you and me. But the second he switches to games owned by the site's parent company, his win rate allegedly spikes by 400%. 400%! That is not luck, that is an algorithm. Online detectives are pointing out specific moments where he's losing for 80 minutes straight, looking miserable, and then a frantic call comes in, he switches games, and boom, jackpot, jackpot, jackpot. It looks like a rigged casino ad disguised as a lifestyle. And when you stack that on top of the music, the picture gets ugly. Insiders are whispering that the ICEMAN album, The Big Comeback, has been built and destroyed 3 separate times. We're talking about track lists that get leaked, hyped up, and then buried because the team realizes it's not enough. They say he's staring at a laptop in a mansion full of Grammys he might not have written alone, ripping apart the 4th version of an album he can't finish. The gap between them isn't a comparison anymore. It's a distance you can't close. Kendrick is expanding an empire with PG Lang. Drake is allegedly fighting ghostwriters, lawsuits, and a public perception that he's nothing but a product. And the wildest part? People swear there is a 20-minute version of Euphoria sitting in a vault somewhere. Not a remix, a nuke, a failsafe recorded specifically in case Drake ever tries to stand up again. This is the evidence piling up at the door, and it's starting to look like there's no way out. Now, let's get into the motive, because this is where everything starts clicking into place. Why is this collapse happening now? Why does it feel so terminal? To understand the fall, you have to look at how the machine was built. For a decade, the industry whispered about the Frankenstein theory. You've heard the rumors, the idea that Drake wasn't a rapper, but a project, a laboratory experiment. West Coast rapper Problem recently pulled back the curtain on this, and what he described sounded less like a studio session and more like a board meeting. Writers huddled in groups, generating concepts. Producers stitching together optimized vibes based on algorithms. Engineers polishing the vocals until they sound human. And then, at the very end, Drake walks in. He puts on the costume, he lays down the vocals, and the world screams genius. That worked when he was on top. Nobody cares how the sausage is made when it tastes good. But look at the motive for the collapse. Kendrick Lamar didn't just attack Drake's lyrics, he attacked the supply chain. When Kendrick framed the battle as 1 versus 20, he wasn't being poetic, he was being literal. He was identifying the logistics of the enemy. Kendrick, 1 pen, 1 brain, 1 mouth. Drake, a conference room of writers, strategists, and brand managers frantically trying to answer a man who moves like a ghost. And here is the devastating part. Drake's one irreplaceable ally, Noah 40 Shabib, the architect, the man who created the underwater sound that took over the world, has reportedly been absent. Health issues, distance, whatever the reason, he wasn't there to steer the ship. So picture the scene in that mansion. No 40, a team of ghostwriters whose patterns Kendrick has been studying for 10 years, a Frankenstein machine trying to outthink a Pulitzer Prize winner. It's impossible. And that brings us to the ICEMAN crisis. This was supposed to be the motive for the comeback. The narrative was simple. I am the cold, isolated king fighting against a rigged industry. He tried to sell us the story that he was the victim, that UMG and Kendrick were the ones cheating. But when that lawsuit got tossed, the motive died. He can't sell the victim story because the court said it was fake. He can't sell the winner story because Kendrick has the trophies. He can't sell the rich story because Bloomberg is saying the money is funny. So what is left? This is why insiders say 4 albums have been scrapped, because every time he tries to find a new angle, reality shuts it down. And let's keep it real, the jealousy angle is real too. Drake has spent his entire career wanting to be respected as a lyricist. He wanted to be mentioned with Jay, with Nas, with the greats. But now, he's watching J. Cole, a man who was clowning for apologizing, suddenly look like the smartest man in the room. Cole saw the trap. Cole saw the Frankenstein lab on one side and the nuclear stockpile on the other, and he said, I'm good. He prioritized survival. And now, Cole is selling out tours for the fall-off, moving like a man who walked through fire and didn't get burned. Meanwhile, Drake stayed in the cage. He let his ego drive the car, and he drove it straight off a cliff. The motive for Kendrick was never just to win a beef, it was to expose the machinery, to show the world that the Wizard of Oz is just a guy behind a curtain pulling levers. And once you see the man behind the curtain, you can never look at the wizard the same way again. But here's the part that really hits different, the part that makes this more than just internet gossip. We are watching a man trapped in an emotional prison of his own making. Commentator Justice said it best. Drake is doing the worst possible thing right now. He's half in and half out. He keeps referencing the beef. He keeps hinting at the pain. He keeps subtweeting about betrayal and fake friends, but he refuses to actually bleed on the record. On songs like Give Me a Hug, you hear it. He spends entire verses venting about how everyone switched up on him. You can hear the paranoia. You can hear the isolation. But then, in the very next breath, he switches back to the party boy persona. It doesn't matter. We outside. Let's go. It's a split personality that is killing him. If you're hurt, why are you pretending to party? If you're unbothered, why are you crying in the booth? And honestly, it's tragic. Think about the people caught in the crossfire. Think about the fans who grew up on this music. For a generation, Drake was the soundtrack to their lives, their breakups, their graduations, their summers. And now, they have to watch their hero spiral. They have to watch him get on a podcast and struggle to name a single classic album without looking terrified that someone will bring up a reference track.
There's a clip of Mao, one of Drake's biggest defenders, trying to argue that Drake has a classic, and you can see the panic in his eyes. He can't do it. He can't slam the table and say take care without wondering if he's defending a ghostwriter. That hurts. That is a betrayal of the listener. And then you have the collateral damage. Artists like Momo Boyd. She features on a Baby Keem track and instantly she is pelted with hate. Industry plant. Fake. Manufactured. Why? Because the Drake Defense Squad and maybe those bot farms Bloomberg talked about need a target. They can't touch Kendrick, he's too far up, so they attack the people standing next to him. They attack a woman just trying to make her art, dragging her into a war she didn't start, just to make their guy feel powerful again. That's messed up. We aren't just watching a celebrity lose money, we are watching a legacy dissolve. and the desperation is hurting everyone around it. Now, this whole situation gets even crazier when you realize the sheer scale of the operation working against him. It's not just Kendrick anymore, it's a hydra. Let's talk about baby Keem. For years, people thought Keem was just Kendrick's little cousin, the protege. But analysts online are starting to connect dots that go back years. They're saying Keem was the sleeper agent. Go back and watch the Family Ties video. Really watch it. The title alone, a direct mirror to Drake's mob ties. Drake bragged about bought loyalty. Kendrick and Keem responded with blood loyalty, actual family. There are visual callbacks to Kendrick's Element video, where an elder is teaching a kid to fight. In Family Ties, Keem is doing the choreography. The student became the soldier. The theory is that they didn't start dissing Drake in 2024. They were building this case brick by brick right under his nose. And look at Keem now, dropping Casino in February 2026, top 5 on Billboard, sliding into the pocket while Drake is scrambling. PG Lang isn't just a label, it's a fortress. And while that fortress is getting stronger, OVO looks like a luxury condo with water leaking through the ceiling. Let's circle back to the Frankenstein accusations, because new details are making this look even worse. Quentin Miller was the leak that started the flood years ago, but people are saying the 2024 battle exposed that the leak never stopped. There's a growing belief that the reason Drake's responses felt so disjointed, why The Heart Part 6 felt like a frantic mess, is because the committee was panicking. Imagine a conference room, 10 writers, 3 producers, everyone shouting ideas. Say this about his wife. No, say this about his height. We need to deny the daughter thing. It's chaos. And that chaos is what ended up on the record. Compare that to Euphoria. Focused, sharp, surgical, one mind dissecting another. And speaking of Euphoria, let's talk about the nuclear secret, the 20-minute version. Problem, the rapper we mentioned earlier, claims he heard from 4 or 5 different sources that this track exists. 15 beat switches. 15! That doesn't sound like a song. That sounds like a trial. The rumors are wild. Some say there's a whole section dedicated to J. Cole that got cut out of respect. Some say there are bars about the gambling ring that predate the Bloomberg article. If that's true, if Kendrick knew about the rigged slots before Bloomberg did, that means he wasn't just rapping, he was investigating. It changes how you listen to everything. When Kendrick warned people about the company, he might have been talking about the literal financial structures holding Drake up. And honestly, the silence from the Drake camp on this specific rumor is deafening. Usually they deny everything, cap, fake news, but on the 20-minute Euphoria, silence. Maybe because they know it's real. Maybe because they know exactly what's on it. And this brings us back to the ICEMAN disaster. Think about the irony. He wants to call the album ICEMAN. He wants to theme it around winter, coldness, isolation. But because of the delays, because of the rewrites, because of the legal drama, this album probably won't drop until summer 2026. Imagine dropping an album called ICEMAN when everyone is outside in shorts and sandals. It's unintentionally hilarious. It's symbolic. The season for his version of the story has already passed. The world has warmed up, and he's still trying to freeze time. And this story is still unfolding with way bigger implications than just one rapper losing a spot on the charts. What we're seeing here is a shift in how the entire culture values authenticity. For a long time, the internet didn't care if you were fake as long as you were entertaining. Drake was the king of that era. The curated captions, the perfect angles, the manufactured viral moments. He played the algorithm better than anyone, but the algorithm turned on him. This is a warning shot to every influencer, every artist, every celebrity who thinks they can build a legacy on smoke and mirrors. We are entering an era of receipts. When Bloomberg can analyze your gambling streams and prove you're rigging the odds, that's the end of the lifestyle flex. When fans can cross-reference your lyrics with reference tracks and prove you didn't write them, that's the end of the genius myth. The internet used to build these people up. Now the internet is armed with tools to tear them down. Look at the classic album debate. This is the conversation that is really destroying his legacy. Matt Hoffa went on a podcast and said it plain. Drake doesn't have a classic album. 10 years ago, you couldn't say that. You'd get laughed out of the room. But now, people are nodding. They're realizing that a classic requires a soul. It requires a cohesive vision. It requires a person, not a committee. Drake gave us playlists, he gave us moods, he gave us captions for our exes, but did he give us a To Pimp a Butterfly? Did he give us a miseducation? Did he give us a blueprint? The consensus is shifting to no, and that is terrifying for the industry, because the industry spent billions trying to replicate the Drake model. Find a marketable face, surround him with writers, pump the streams with bots, profit. If that model is collapsing, if the public is rejecting the Frankenstein monster, then the labels are panicking. This isn't just about Drake falling off, it's about the death of the product rapper. Kendrick proved that you can go away for 5 years, live your life, write your own words, and still come back and destroy the machine. He proved that art beats content, and for a generation raised on 15-second TikTok clips, that is a massive wake-up call. It's a warning. If you build your house on an algorithm, the algorithm can delete you. So where does this end? Can the ICEMAN escape the gravity of this loss? Let's keep it real. Every path in front of him is dangerous. If he drops ICEMAN, it will be the most dissected project in history. People aren't going to listen to it for the vibes. They're going to listen to it like prosecutors. They're going to cross-check the flows to see which new ghostwriter he hired. They're going to side-eye every streaming milestone because of the bot allegations. They're going to compare every bar to the reality of the lawsuits. If he raps about being rich, we'll think about the rigged casino. If he raps about being the best, we'll think about the Grammys he didn't win. He is trapped. Some optimists think he can pivot. They say he needs to go full vulnerable, admit everything, make his 444, admit the ghostwriters, admit the loss, be human. But can he? Does Drake even know who Drake is without the machine? If you strip away the writers, the bots, the brand deals, the tough guy persona, what is left? The darker theory, the one that is gaining traction online, is that the war is already over. Kendrick is locking in his legacy. He's looking at the history books. Drake is trying to convince us his house isn't burning down while he's standing in the flames. And somewhere on an encrypted hard drive, that 20-minute nuclear diss is waiting. It's the ultimate checkmate. Kendrick doesn't even have to release it. The threat of it is enough. It forces Drake to move carefully. It forces him to watch his mouth. It forces the mob boss to walk on eggshells. Drake might be rewriting his album for the 5th time right now, but the reality is he might be trying to rewrite an identity that has already been deleted. Stay locked in because this story is about to get even crazier. We are monitoring the ICEMAN release date. We are watching the court filings, and we are keeping an ear to the ground for that 20-minute track. So, drop your thoughts in the comments. I need to know where you stand. Do you think Drake can ever recover from this, or is the empire officially crumbled? And do you believe the rumors about the 20-minute euphoria? Would you even want to hear it, or is it better left in the vault? Let me know what you think. Make sure you like the video, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications. We are covering every twist, every leak, and every development in this saga. You do not want to miss what's coming next. I appreciate you for rocking with me. Stay safe out there, watch who you trust, and remember, everything in the dark eventually comes to the light. I'll see you in the next one.